Happy New Year, everyone. We look forward to a better 2021 in the fight against COVID-19, which unfortunately is still with us in the world, to the issue of insecurity, which Nigeria is still dealing with, and even to food security. So just before we delve into the new year, let's see some of the issues that Special Report treated in 2020. You're welcome. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Gender-based violence was a major topic which distracted many Nigerians from the COVID-19 outbreak. The Ministry of Women Affairs records that over 2 million women and girls are assaulted every year. The number of recorded incidents even increased during the lockdown, which was one of the measures by the government to reduce the spread of the virus. Children who would normally have left the house for schools were locked in with their molesters. Same applied to adults who would have left their homes for business places. Special Report attempted to unravel what goes on in the mind of a rapist. It's a poster that has been making the rounds these days, both in the new and traditional media. It's not a fluke. Stories like that of 23-year-old resident of Lagos who's been arrested for sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl in his neighborhood confirms this.
I know that it's a small girl, but as she come meet me, no be say I by force am, but I'll just make sure say make my body dey okay. I don't know wetin na push me that day. I follow the girl sleep. As I follow and sleep, as I now tell the girl that I promise her that okay, if we say for evening, I will give her money, and she as well say no wahala.
The promise of money or gifts to lure children to a dastardly act is not a new trick. With most cases recorded in homes and neighborhood, it is safe to assume that an abuser has in many instances intentionally planned the act.
A particular person is grooming your child. Predators groom children. Most times they don't just pounce on children and defile them. There is a process, a deliberate process that they undertake to groom. So it's a process of getting into a sexual relationship with a child and preserving that relationship in secrecy. That's grooming. So there are things that are done to win the trust of the child and also the trust of the parents or the caregivers. And that's why you have some instances where people report that a particular person has been defiling the child. Even the caregivers don't believe. Why? Because they themselves have been groomed. They've been groomed to think that this person is a saint, he's the pastor, he's the imam. He can't be guilty of what he's alleged to have committed. There are even more inexplicable situations of sexual violence, raising questions such as what motivated the assault of a 100-level student of microbiology in the University of Benin, Vera Owaila Omazua in Edo State, who was in a church she attends to study and was raped right there. Or a fully dressed 18-year-old Barakat Bello who was gang raped in Ibadan, Oyo State. Or even an 85-year-old raped by her grandson in Niger State.
A lokacin da muka je gidansu.
My friends and I took some alcohol and I slept off. Shortly after, we heard gunshots and people scampered to safety. I ran into the room of my grandmother. She was sleeping, so I went and held her.
What goes through the minds of individuals like these who carry out such unkind acts are not just children but also adults? Psychiatrist Bolutife Oyatokun says there's been a global study of the mind of a rapist, and among other things, the problem points towards mental illness.
As of now, the American Psychiatric Association, everywhere, all mental health physicians everywhere still accept and define pedophilia as a mental illness. In that instance, the person is not really attracted to maybe a mature woman, but most times they are attracted to children that are not yet sexually, they don't have the secondary sexual characteristics yet. So that is what catches their fancy. It's been found that most times it's not because this person wants sex. It's like an act just to show that I have power over you.
Then the topic which dominated the year 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic. The world has recorded over 1.7 million deaths. while Nigeria has lost over 1,290 people to the virus. But even more scary is the second wave which is being experienced in the country now. However, in response to the spread, the federal government had imposed restrictions on various levels, and many Nigerians got thinking. That's what we bring to you next. It begins with a direct message on Instagram for Dogba Adeniyi, a food vendor in Lagos State. After using the same medium to publicize her work, the restriction on movement and cautiousness of Nigerians to reduce the exposure to COVID-19 has now increased interactions online.
Basically, they send us either via DM on Instagram or via the Booker app. At that point, it felt like everyone didn't want to even bother to cook from home at all. So we were the ones doing everything for them. So what I say, like, it increased a lot because normally we could have like maybe 2 orders or 3 orders in a week, but we started to do like every day. People started to order for food for their spouses, for their moms, for their dads, even people outside the country who would not want their loved ones to go out to shop for food because of the pandemic, started to call us to help them, send them food gifts, to keep them, to show them to love them, especially during this time, and also to celebrate them.
For Dogba, the chain goes from a chat and social media platform to the kitchen, where she has had to employ extra hands to help out, and then to dinner tables of customers, talking about making lemonade out of lemon.
Okay, I just saw your order. Thank you. We'll get it ready for you. You want one edikaikong and one prawn sauce delivered to you at Friends Colony, right? Okay, we'll get it ready in 40 minutes. Thank you.
That's the new norm for Victoria Mbogo, also a food vendor. Her kitchen is not just the office, but a food factory of some sort.
We've already, because normally we cook fresh, so when you order, we get everything ready for you immediately.
Cook are hardly idle. Pots almost always holding one meal or another. This is her world, and one she says pays, although it comes with its positives and negatives.
We're really delivering because we went all the way to isolation centers. We delivered pepper soup, we delivered soups to people because people ordered for them. So we got our staff fully kitted with the space mask. So I know he was terrified. The first day he went, he was so terrified. I told him, listen, you're just handing this over to the security, so they will hand it over to the patient. Well, we spoke with the patient. We also sent complimentary meals to people there. I just had a major setback. Why do I say I had a major setback? You know, I bring my things from Akwa Ibom. So now it's a smuggler's thing. You have to pay through. I just paid 35,000 to bring 3 coolers. That's a cooler with fish and crayfish and this thing, dried prawns in. It was huge. That's the highest I've ever paid. I decided I'm not going to increase my price. The price I have on my menu, it's what I've had since last year, August. I've not changed my price because already things are hard for people.
All right, so today we're having computing and technology design.
And with about 50% increase in the use of data, some schools have been able to stay active.
President Hero, how are you? Good.
The Presidential Task Force has warned that states should not be in a hurry to open schools, and so classrooms are now virtual. While the government has embraced radio and television to keep children busy, some private schools have taken to online methods.
What robots look like and what they can actually do. So we have a demonstration here of a sample of a robot. Now this robot is called a Make Block Import robot.
Every once in a while, some of the teachers meet in the classrooms to discuss and arrange the content of their lessons, which in this case is not restricted to the normal curriculum. This is how video conferencing software maker Zoom Incorporated hit a $50 billion mark in the market value in May, buoyed by investors' optimism that the increase in its users amid the COVID-19 pandemic would lead to long-lasting revenue growth. With universities finding ways to adopt social distancing into the activities, the optimism of the investors may be realized. The world is hoping that the vaccine would give the world the much-needed relief from the restrictions which COVID-19 has imposed on everyone. Meanwhile, according to a recent report by PricewaterhouseCoopers, there is a present deficit of over 17 million houses in Nigeria. This requires about 700,000 new houses to be built every year, compared to the less than 100,000 houses that are being constructed now. Unfortunately, some criminal-minded individuals have taken advantage of this need, and some Nigerians have become victims, losing money and accommodation. Special report featured one of such incidents. Frustration and confusion as they meet themselves at the point that they were supposed to get keys to the apartment and move in.
I think I was the owner of the Yes.
Many of them have cut ties with their present home owners, with plans that they've secured an abode at number 6 Olasuru near Golden Park Estate in Shongo Tedo area of Aja in Lagos, southwest Nigeria, which seems to be under construction with no windows and other essentials that would make it habitable. It started with just a few number of persons, and then the news went round and more people trooped to the site with similar stories. They discovered that over 150 of them have paid for a 16-flat building.
First I got to this place, you understand, I met the agent. The agent was hanging his banner on a wall on the street. Hafiz, that's the name he gave me. Okay. The original owner cannot let a room to 5-10 people. Knowing that it's my building, it will definitely cause a problem. So I don't think the original owner will want to say, okay.
So that's why you have doubts that she is.
Exactly.
Okay. The building, we're told, consists of 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and studio apartments, informing the payment of various amounts by potential tenants.
I see their number for United Estates. So I called the number, they asked me to come to this place. When I came here, the woman, the Alaja, said engineer to show me the room for upstairs. The engineer carried me go up. I reached there, he showed me the house. He said it's 210 because it's very small. He said 210. Okay, I said, okay, if I come, I go make the payment. He said, whether I won't pay the money for bank. I said, no, I have the money cash. He said, okay, if I come, if I know me time, engineer go give me receipt. I pay give engineer. I come, I meet engineer. He say Alaja no day. I pay engineer give me receipt. I pay 190,000. This is the receipt, which I supposed to balance 20,000. Now I come here the other day because they say I should come this week Friday and collect my key with the remaining agreement. I reach here and people I meet here and say the people don't run.
One of them actually got the key to his promised apartment. Mr. Ejike Mberi says he paid 380,000 for a year and a half. While they are angry at getting duped, the sight of an elderly woman who may have struggled to meet up with the payment escalates their fury.
We are here. We will give you all the video we have been recording right from Monday.
Mrs. Aduni Adeshola shows a receipt of 230,000 naira for a self-contained apartment issued by Adebayo Aderibigbe. Channels Television has called the number on the receipt, but it has remained switched off. Other payments were alleged to have been done electronically to 2 different accounts, and the individuals have not been able to confirm the true owner of the building.
I used to know her. I don't know her real name, but I used to know her. According to what you see here, her name is here. Her name is on the this thing here.
This is a Mr. Adebayo Aderibigbe. This is a man's name.
According to what we had, we learned that she's just a developer. The man whose name is here is the owner of the property. She has been acting on behalf of the man, collecting money from tenants, the supposed tenant who's supposed to occupy the building, and collecting money from every other person like that.
The group has reported the matter to the police and fortunately arrests have already been made. The Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Agency has taken up the case and promised to help the victims of the scam to recover their money and ensure that justice is served. October 2020 is a month that Nigeria was in the global news headlines, but not for good. Youth in the country had come together to protest police brutality and even ask for better welfare and remuneration for officers of the Nigeria Police Force. The protests came to an abrupt stop at the Lekki Toll Plaza on the 20th, an incident which still raises a lot of controversies. Police brutality is still a topical issue and has been captured as #EndSARS. Names of individuals whose lives have been shortened in connection to this is easily accessed on social media. Youths took to the streets on the 7th of October with a common chant. The passion contagious. So the protests spread from Lagos, Abuja, Ogun, Oyo, Anambra, Ebonyi, all through the southern parts of the country, asking for the disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. The protests spread to the northern part too, but by then it had been customized to suit their needs. Theirs was end insecurity, and some even asked for SARS.
The reality of the South is not the reality of the North. I'm sure a lot of people have been picking a lot of fights with people, fellow citizens in the North about, oh, you're asking for reformation of SARS when we are saying SARS should end, despite the fact that these people have been committing atrocities and they have been living within the culture of impunity in our society to the point where people can't feel safe anymore in the society. But again, the truth is, people we in the South, we know what we have been through in the hands of impunity as perpetuated by the tactical squads generally. Talking about SARS, SACS, and SACS, whether it's special anti-robbery, special anti-cultism, special anti-kidnapping, and the whole lot of hybrids that they have in there. That is our reality, because that's what we see from this part. But in the North, I must say that they are actually working fine.
The government responded by disbanding SARS on the 11th of October. 48 hours later, they announced a new formation, the Special Weapon Tactical Team, SWAT. But this did not satisfy the youths as the protests continued. Not even the acceptance of their 5 demands could get them off the protest grounds. The protest continued with pockets of violence reported, like the jailbreak in Edo State on the 19th of October, the burning of the police station at Orile Igonwo in Lagos on the 20th, and then the announcement of curfew started in affected states. That of Lagos was announced on Tuesday, the 20th of October for 4 p.m. and then adjusted to 9 p.m. Hours after the announcement, the nation and indeed the world had its eyes glued to social and traditional media platforms for an incident that would raise a lot of questions days after. Questions on why the light went off after men in military uniform arrived at the Lekki Toll Plaza, who ordered them to be there, were there fatalities, and much more continue to wait for answers. Still related to security, the killing of the rice farmers, abduction and eventual release of the Kankara boys, 2020 had its fair share of insecurity incidents. The consequences of these occurrences, especially as they affect the farmers, has brought up the threat to food security. The record for 2020 shows that total deaths from terror attacks in Nigeria fell to 1,245, a 39% decrease from prior year. So also is the terror-related incidents, which fell by 27%, marking the lowest level of terrorist violence in the country since 2011. Boko Haram, the country's deadliest terrorist group, recorded an increase in terrorist activity, mainly targeted at civilians, by 25% from the prior year. Additionally, Fulani extremists were responsible for 26% of terror-related deaths in the country at 325 fatalities. All this has placed the country as the third country most impacted by terrorism. 28th of November, there was a story which still breaks hearts when the country woke up to the gruesome killing of some farmers. Number of victims still in contention. There were rice farmers who were temporarily relocated for harvest. Another headliner was on the 11th of December when over 300 schoolboys were kidnapped in Kankara in Katsina State. Thankfully, they were later released, a feat which the army is very proud of, as they say it is the first time an operation of that magnitude will be carried out without any loss of lives. Umaru Makama was a vegetable farmer in Zaria, Kaduna State for 10 years. But in recent times, he says he prefers to trade vegetables in Mile 12 Market in Lagos rather than stay in Kaduna State. He's even had to move his family to the southern parts of the country. He says although it's not as profiting as farming, but this is better for now.
When this life now is very hard now, it's more easy like before. Before you have the security issue and something is very easy, but now everything is very hard. There's security, there's no any security in this Nigeria. We have so many our friends there when they are traveling, they are kidnapper and all these tourism people, they are killing people anyhow. This is what make my life that no need to go back and do that kind of thing and stay there.
Ibrahim Al-Hassan is still farming. He farms onions, carrots and tomatoes in Zamfara State. Apart from farming, he says he also trades, which is why he is in Lagos. His experience reaffirms the fears of Mr. Makama.
The problem we are facing, it is not only that we carry goods all the way from Zamfara to Lagos here. The main problem that we are facing is that there is insecurity in Zamfara because most of our farmers, they were killed and many souls have gone. So, and even after farming, we farm goods. So for us to go back to our farm, just to bring it out to load it, it will be so difficult for us because there are some hoodlums around the farm, being around with guns and some other instruments.
Agriculture still remains the largest sector of the Nigerian economy and employs 2/3 of the entire labor force. The production hurdles have significantly stifled the performance of the sector. Over the past 20 years, value added per capita in agriculture has risen by less than 1% annually. It is estimated that Nigeria has lost about $10 billion in annual export opportunity from groundnut, palm oil, cocoa and cotton alone because of decline in the production of these commodities. Most of these commodities are from the northern part of the country. Meanwhile, in the last few years, vast areas of southern Yobe, Borno and Adamawa have been under-cultivated or not harvested during the May to December main farming season as a result of attacks and conflict-related fears orchestrated by Boko Haram. Many of the internally displaced persons in northeastern parts of the country have abandoned their farms, agricultural activities and homes due to insecurity. The consequences is not lost on other parts of the country where consumers of these crops reside. Well, that's the much you can accommodate in the review of 2020. We hope we will have more pleasant stories in 2021. So let's make it a better year together by staying safe. I'm Ini John Mekwa.